my name's Dr. Ellen Storm from U-Turn Health, and today I'd like to answer the question, what is high raw? I talk about a low-fat, high-raw plant-based diet, and there is not an absolute definition of what constitutes a high-raw diet. I've heard lots of different definitions. Mostly they involve percentages of total calorie intake. So I've heard people say 50% of total calorie intake, 70%, 80%, 90% and 95%. All the way up pretty much to 100% raw, at which point you're not high raw anymore, you're just raw. So I think that I would like to suggest that we move away from this idea of percentages, because if you're aiming for 100% raw, but you're not quite there yet, then the answer is that your health is going to improve if you include more raw food than you're eating now. Unless you're eating 100% raw, assuming that you accept the idea that eating 100% raw is the ideal diet for human beings, and whether you accept that or not, that's maybe a subject for a video for another day. But if you do take that as your goal, then the answer to what is high raw is simply more raw than I'm eating now. It is more about the journey than it is about getting stuck on numbers. I don't think it's helpful to focus too much on percentages. I like to think of it as moving towards 100% raw, but with a bit of flexibility around the edges. And that might be that we simply want to retain a little bit of leeway when we're out socially, or when we're in traveling or in sticky situations. We're just, for whatever reason, we can't necessarily get the 100% raw food that we would like to be eating. So for me personally, I think of it as maybe being upwards of 90%. Those small sort of 5 to 10% variations where I might include some cooked foods, like it might be some cooked chickpeas on a salad, or it might be some steamed vegetables, or it might be some cooked grains on a salad, or something like that. It might include something like I eat roasted nori when I make sushi, because I really like sushi, but I find that's much easier to work with. And to be honest, it's only 10 calories a sheet. So that's sort of in my list of things that I have that I will allow in my diet that is generally not raw. But it makes up a fairly small proportion. And I think what it isn't is eating, occasional whole cooked meals. I do think that if you eat whole cooked meals, that's often the beginning of the slippery slope back down to eating all cooked food again, or mostly cooked food again. And so for me, that's my personal experience anyway, is that when I think about high raw, I tend to think about certain things I might include on salads, or I might use because they're cheaper and they're more available, or I might have when I'm out and about if I'm struggling or busy, or I haven't prepared. And life gets in the way of our best intentions sometimes. For me personally, I think there's just having that little bit of kindness to myself. So I don't necessarily want to get very stuck in the idea of I must be 100% and I must be sort of pure and perfect, because we're not, pure, perfect people, most of us, most of the time. And I don't think that helps us. So I'd also like us to generally start to shift the conversation away from the idea of 100% raw being a kind of special group of people, a tribe, people who do it, people who've done it for years and years and years, and everybody else who is on the outside, and move us towards more of a population view in relation to how we can help everybody to start to eat more raw foods, to include more raw foods in their diet. I would like to invite you to check out the U-Turn Health website, and if you think that I can help you, if you think there's something there for you, then please do get in touch. Come and talk to me, because I'd love to hear from you, and let's start the conversation.